Hello, and welcome to a new episode of From the Honeycomb podcast. I am your host, Katerina. Each week, we dive into a blend of topics that resonate with the soul. Whether you're an architect enthusiast, have a passion for wanderlust, want to discover holistic approaches to rejuvenate your body and mind, or are intrigued to learn about Vastu Shastra with a modern approach, you've come to the right place. Join me as I sit down with inspiring, like-minded women from various walks of life. We will delve into their journeys to discuss the challenges and moments that define their paths. So sit back, relax, and let the spark of positive energy ignite your curiosity. Hi, it's me, Katerina. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to share with you something that can change the trajectory of your life. If you are ready to start your own architecture firm but are feeling overwhelmed by where to begin, I understand, because I felt the same way when I first embarked on my entrepreneurial journey. This is why I have created the ebook, The Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm. This comprehensive workbook contains everything I wish I had known before starting my own firm. From building a solid business plan to creating your brand, The Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm offers a step-by-step guide tailored to your timeline, whether you're launching your firm today, next month, or in a few years. Dive into essential topics like financial planning, organization strategies, and how to secure your first client, all in one convenient resource. That's right, you don't have to spend hours researching. I have done that for you so you can focus on building your business. And that's not all. With your purchase, you'll also receive an exclusive meditation for business owners, mindfulness tips, a crystal guide for support, and gratitude exercises to help you stay focused and positive throughout your journey. Turn your dream of having your own firm into a reality with the Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm. Click on the link in the show notes to get your copy today. Now, let's dive into the episode. I am joined by Claudia Ramirez, mindset leadership coach and host of the Mindset Mike podcast. After years of studying and training, Claudia became an academic All-America, where she realized this journey was not for her, but to help others in their journey. Today, she helps enhance the mindset of others to help them become the optimal leader of their life. Claudia, welcome to From the Honeycomb.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I know, I'm excited we finally get to connect on the podcast platform.
Yes, and that's actually how I got to know about you through one of your episodes, a friend of mine, and now to be on it, it's an honor. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm excited to have you on. And as you know, we begin every episode by sharing something that we are grateful for in the present moment. So what are you grateful for?
I am very grateful for opportunity. I am brand new to New York, 1 month old, almost 5 weeks. And it's crazy how things have just started flowing and opportunity has presented in my life, even in such a short period of time. And my heart is just overjoyed by it. And I am eternally grateful.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I have loved watching you moving from London to New York, and it's great to hear that there's so much positivity around this new chapter of your life and that you're really just riding that wave of just new opportunities. That's really incredible to see.
Yeah. Very happy and very excited of what is coming, but also very grateful for what is here and everything that I have in my life right now.
Oh, I love it. So
Yeah.
can you share with the listeners your story of, what's brought you to where you are today?
Absolutely. Well, as a mindset coach, I started studying personal development about 12 years ago. It was the day after my 19th birthday. And at the time, I was a student athlete. And I was going through some difficult times in the sense of having to prove yourself to earn a scholarship, stay on a team, and all these things. And I had these big goals that didn't make sense. And for me, it was an entire journey. And I remember, like, fast forward 5 years later, I had accomplished a lot of these goals. And I realized that I probably wasn't the only person who had these crazy goals that don't make sense on paper. And I had learned so much. And I wanted to help other people do the same. And so here I am. And I know that whenever we do something in our life in one area, we can do it in other areas of our life. We're not just one thing. And so you replicate the things that you've learned here and there in other aspects, and it helps you be the most, in the best sense of the word, like well-rounded or overall wellness in your life and accomplishment and achievement. And so for me, I just have this mindset of why not? Hashtag, let's see how far I can take this, I always say. And here we are. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And can you share with me more what it means to be an academic All-America or what that means?
Oh, yes. So, funny story. I didn't know what this was when
Mhm.
I was awarded this. Basically, an All American. I don't know if you're familiar with that title. In the US, there's like this system of sports,
Mhm.
and the best athletes every single year are awarded All Americans. I ran
Mm.
cross country and track. So, for those sports, it's in the moment. The people who win the races, the people who are top eight or top 10, top 15 are All Americans. And it was a big, big, big dream of mine to be an All American. That was not in the cards for the universe, even though I gave it my all. However, it was funny because I loved academics.
Mhm.
And one day we had just lost a championship and I had given it everything. Like I couldn't have done more, but we still lost the championship. And I was completely, disappointed over that. And then about 3 weeks later, I get this congratulations like message saying that I was an academic All American. So
Mm.
basically, what the NCAA does is they look at the best student athletes combined,
Mm.
and those are the ones who are awarded that. So not only excelling athletes, but also in the classroom. And I mean, I had great professors. I kept my GPA up, and that's where it came from. And then I did my research, and apparently only 0.03 athletes ever get it. And I thought, well, I guess I got my All
Mhm.
American in my little way.
Yeah, of
And it
course.
was really nice because I just realized that I had been striving to accomplish things that perhaps other teammates had accomplished. And in the nicest way, I ended up accomplishing something that somebody hadn't done in my school for 5 years.
Wow.
So it was nice. It was really nice. And it was just proof that when we have dreams and goals, they can come true as long as we
Mhm.
put in the effort, but they could be different than what we anticipated to begin with.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, that's an incredible achievement. And it seems like that's really set you up into kind of the journey that you're on now about coaching others. And so when you work with your like mentees, I guess, because you're like their mentor, right? When you work with them, how do you encourage them through their journeys?
Absolutely. It depends on how we work. If I work with somebody one on one, we
Hmm.
get very specific about their journey. Where is it that they are right now? Where have they been? Where do they want to go? And that's the beauty of one on one, that you
Hmm.
get to really get specific and personalize somebody's experience while working with you. For me, I like to keep it in like 4 months. And I like to give people the tools to go and do it themselves after spending time with me.
Hmm.
And it's a matter of, for me, it's super special because we all come from different backgrounds and we all have different experiences. And it's a matter of them really gaining certain tools like, for example, creating self awareness and getting super clear on their value and their worth and getting clear on their goals and learning visualization techniques, whether it's a vision board or other visualization techniques that we can apply practically in our day to day and taking action. And it all looks different and it almost looks different in different stages of our life, even myself. However, once we put it together, that is how it kind of comes, into fruition and how it all kind of blossoms. And again, it's very personal for every single individual. But for me, I just like to take what I've experienced in the past and I always like to share personal stories. But at the end of the day, somebody has the last say on what they choose to believe or on what they choose to pursue or how they choose to do things. And I am simply a guide and
Hmm.
somebody to keep them accountable and teach them everything I can. That is how I would really put it and place it.
No, I think that would be so helpful for so many people because, we all have these dreams we want to accomplish. And sometimes we need that guide, someone to kind of help us because I know I'm someone who has so many goals and so many dreams. And then
Yeah.
there's just all this floating space, but someone to help you kind of, guide you through that journey. And so I think that's really, really helpful that you're someone that people can turn to. How has being a coach changed you as well in your life and how your goals have changed?
For me, if I may, I've also been a running coach. I used to coach
Hmm.
cross country and track at the high school level in Houston. And that was my first experience coaching someone. And it completely altered in an amazing way the way that I thought and saw what I do. So, in terms of coaching, there's just something about when you get to a milestone, when you get to a new goal, when you accomplish something in your life, doesn't matter how big or small it is, it feels great and you want to
Mhm.
do it again. But at the end of the day, it's about you and for you. And being able to watch somebody else do it, it is absolutely transforming in your own personal journey. I remember, on both realms as a sports coach, seeing these runners completely drop their times and feel so happy about their accomplishments. It changed the way that I thought about running.
Mhm.
And the same way, whenever I work with someone, whether it's through a course that they take or a vision board that they make or working with me one on one or maybe a workshop or something, and then I hear, oh my gosh, it helped me with this. I remember somebody, she was starting her own business and she wanted to get something trademarked. And she went through the law process and everything,
Mhm.
and submitting it. And she comes back and she goes, oh my gosh, the lawyer said that they've never had somebody go and get accepted so quickly, and it's been on my vision board, and it just all happened within 2 weeks instead of months.
Wow.
And it's that moment when you think it's not even about me, it's about being able to help other people get to that, which was the moment that I had way back in the day about, hey, I can help other people as well. And so yeah, it feels so good because it's not about you, but you are just a tiny, tiny little grain of salt and sand in the process.
That's such a
Yeah.
beautiful perspective. And I love that it's also helped you grow. And it's, of course, it must be so gratifying to see someone who you helped, even like that little grain of salt, you helped them become a better version of themselves and
Yeah.
achieve their goals. And that must be such a rewarding feeling.
It is because for me, here's the way that I see it. I think that every single time like I walk down the street, I see people and I see faces and I wonder what is beneath that. Like what
Mm.
is in their heart? What are those dreams and goals that they would love to accomplish or maybe, they dream about or they think one day somehow I would love to make this happen or wouldn't it be nice? And I also know that it's our past experiences, like perhaps people who went through bullying or heartbreak, or the fact that they are from a certain demographic, or, there's just so many factors that could play a part that make them believe that they can't.
Mm.
And for me, I'm like, can we just replace that, shift that, change that, and get to where we want to go? And I just see that there's just so much potential, and it pains me to think or see when people don't get to the other side because of self doubt or lacking belief or not developing their own confidence, thinking that everybody else is special except themselves. You know what I mean?
Mhm. No, yeah. I
Yeah.
definitely do. One thing that I want to come back to that you were mentioning is vision boards.
Yeah.
And I had a vision board in front of my desk for a while, and I'm kind of thinking about starting another vision board soon. What is your process about vision boards? Because I hear about it, I see about everyone loves vision boards, but I always sit down with a bunch of magazines and I'm like, what kind of mindset should I be in when I'm starting to build a vision board?
Absolutely. Okay, so confession. I've never seen how other people do vision boards.
Okay.
I've taken my own process and then learned that mine is very different. And it has
Hmm.
evolved. My first vision board, it was the most expensive thing you could ever imagine because I had college print credits. And you pay like $700 for print credits, whether you
Oh
like it
my
or not
gosh.
at school. It's part of your tuition, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I had so many left, and I said, what am I going to do with these? And I looked at all my goals. And so I started printing things from Google and Pinterest. So it's like most
Nice.
expensive vision board in the history of vision boards. My parents didn't know. I mean, hey, it was going to go to waste, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I had all these images in a trifold,
Hmm.
like a science trifold. And I
Yes.
would take this with me from one apartment to another when I was in college. And then I started shifting it. And I'm very creative and I always like to take things really far. And so I
Hmm.
started putting myself in all the images.
Oh, okay.
And that's where it really, truly made it a game changer. So for me, I don't do magazines. I don't do
Okay.
Pinterest cutouts anymore or Google unless they're on the actual vision board and I'm in there. So it's a process. I do it on with Canva
Mhm.
And, or I mean, I also suggest other things in my course. I go through the whole process, but it first starts with goal setting.
Mhm.
And I walk through the different types of goals and the different, from like the very realistic right now, it's in my control goals, to the don't make sense goals and dreams.
Mhm.
And then that I combine it with 101 ideas to visualize. So for people who don't know where to start, for people who have been blocked mentally for so long on a mindset level, and they're like, well, yeah, it must be nice, right? But my whole energy is this that I am in right now. How do I shift it? Well, I
Mhm.
give you all the ideas to visualize. And so it's always about your ideal lifestyle, your ideal career, your ideal relationships, your ideal everything. Let's think of like the best case scenario and
Mhm.
what you dream of, and then bring that. And then, of course, putting images together that feel aligned. A lot of times when people say, I want to live in a mansion, oh, with architecture,
Mhm.
well, what does that look like? Somebody could
Right.
come to you and say, I want a mansion. Okay. And I want it to be 8 bedrooms. All right.
Mhm.
Or my dream home. Well, is your dream home, 10 acres of land and a small home where you can just roam around the garden? Or is
Mhm.
it a big home on a small plot in a neighborhood? Or like, where do you want to live? And what does that look like for you? And so that is where we get very specific, and why I don't always recommend. I always say each their own. What works for
Mhm.
me maybe doesn't work for somebody else. However,
Mhm.
what you say about opening a magazine and kind of not knowing what energy or headspace to be in, that's
Mhm.
because the houses are being presented to you. If you go and, speaking of houses in this
Mhm.
sense, but if you go and do your research for a specific home that you like, and you can even modify it. I mean, I get into like photoshopping territory here too, and I love it. I'm like, how creative can I get, you know? And then you
Yeah.
find images of yourself to include it. And what that does is that my vision board course is called See It Created. It's not a humble plug, just sharing. And See It Created. And the reason why I named it that is because once you see it, you can't unsee it. The
Mm.
mind looks for reasons to make something true and valid. So,
Mhm.
whatever it is that we are imagining and thinking about, it's going to look for opportunity to make that real, even if it isn't something optimal and ideal for us in the long run. And that is how I do it. And then I, of course, teach people how to do the next steps, because having a vision board is great. But having a vision board that is so far fetched and we're not in the right headspace or in the right
Mm.
action taking and habits is what could also hurt us, and then feel like that doesn't work. Well, it
Mhm.
can work. It's just that we need to also make some shifts in our daily life.
Mm. I love
Yeah.
that you say, like, especially when it comes to like your dream home. Well, sure, you can cut out a picture from like going back to a magazine. You can pick, like be like, oh, this is the dream home that I want. But adding that little bit more detail, I think
Mhm.
just makes it a little bit more realistic. And it's interesting to hear you say that. I didn't know that the brain, once it sees something, I know once it sees something, it can't unsee it in a way, but then it figures out ways to make that happen. And that is so beautiful and motivating, like to think that even on a subconscious level, then you've kind of pushed the buttons in the brain to start working towards this goal that you have, created or designed or whatever it is however it is on your vision
Yeah.
board. Because it's great having a vision board. I think that's great, but it's that next step as well. So it's great that your brain starts to kind of do that for you.
Yes. Well, what happens is that before we were born,
Hmm.
our eyes were part of our brain.
Oh,
And then
true.
eventually they were kind of squeezed out. And so
Yeah,
then
that's true. That is
I
true.
try to
Yes.
say this in like a way that doesn't make people go, ooh,
Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
but I couldn't think of a word.
no,
And so
I
then
get what you mean.
they're still connected. It's part of
Right.
your brain, except that it's looking out.
Mm.
And it's very beautiful when you think about it. Don't picture it so much, but it's very
Yeah.
beautiful when you think about
Yeah,
it.
that's like the
Because,
metaphor of it.
yeah, because that is where it comes from.
Oh,
And
interesting. Oh, that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
It also created an interesting vision, but just to think how much we don't realize that things are interconnected, and our thoughts as well, and our dreams, and like going back to the subconscious, and just, even once you're working every day towards this goal, knowing that there's something in the back of the mind that is kind of helping you. And it's that tool in your toolkit to help you start working towards that goal and achieving it, whatever it may be.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, when we talk about your thoughts and your beliefs, it all comes down to your paradigms, right? Like those deep,
Mm.
deep rooted thoughts. Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words becomes actions, and actions become your habits. and it's all connected. And we think that, oh, well, it's game over. No, we can still shift it and we can make it something positive. The thing about the subconscious and conscious mind is that the conscious mind thinks that it's in charge. The
Mm-hmm.
subconscious mind is the one that is in charge. And it makes the other one believe that it's in charge. It's like a filtering system, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. And if our subconscious mind isn't taken care of, what happens is that our conscious mind allows things to filter in. If I were to go out right now and somebody tells you, Claudia, you will never speak in front of 25,000 people, that won't go into my subconscious mind because I believe it in my heart that I will.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's absolutely no question for me. And so it doesn't matter how long it takes. But if I am uncertain, "Oh, can I? I don't know. Do I want to?"
Mm-hmm.
And then now, all of a sudden, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like like electrons and protons and neutrons and like the positive, positive, negative, negative kind of thing. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
what is in there and how are you protecting that? And your conscious will absorb, but your subconscious decides if it is real or not. And so that is why vision boards work, because if you create them with the belief, with the goal setting, visualization, and now you're creating this image, you are adopting it in your mind to say, yep, yep, this is happening, and
Mm-hmm.
anything else, it almost repels it.
Mhm. I like how you explain that because I'm someone who I can sometimes like I'm pretty confident. I'm very confident. I should say I'm pretty confident. I'm very confident. But there are those moments, like you said, like something will come up, someone will say something to you. And I know now as a business owner, like I've had clients kind of test me a little bit, especially when it comes to my hourly rate or, do I know what I'm doing because I'm so young? And there's those moments of like unsureness. And
Mhm.
so you put it in a really interesting perspective of, yeah, I know deep down like my value. So like when it comes to my hourly rates, for example, I had a client who was pretty much wanting me to cut my fee in half. And I'm just like, there's no way possible. And then I just knew deep down, like, this is just, I'm valued more. And so it helped me kind of get out of it. But there was those moments where I kind of had this doubt start to build up. And I knew if I let it build up, if I went to my next client meeting, I wouldn't feel as confident as I usually do. And so I just really can't say any advice on how I got through it. I haven't had another client meeting since this. This happened very recently, but it's something to think about for me. And so I like the way that you described it because sometimes I do get worried if there is that kind of comment or that limiting belief or something. And it can slowly start to, chip away at that confidence. And that's
Yeah.
something, but you explained it beautifully. If you know deep down, can't
Yeah.
affect you.
I mean, especially, yes, people will test you or experiences will test you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also, if we look at it I don't believe in toxic positivity, but if we
Mm-hmm.
look at it on the positive side, so that we don't stay in the negative or what I would say is that it's kind of alerting you of how solid that belief is in your value, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if, for instance, if somebody comes and tells me something mean, I remember one time somebody said, Claudia, I can't watch your videos because you speak with your hands way too much.
Oh my gosh, so
And
do
it
I.
kind of makes me me. I
Yeah.
mean, I speak with my hands, and it's not that I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how to speak in public. It's just that I'm Mexican, and that's just the way that my personality is.
Mm-hmm.
And I took it to heart, like crying to heart, because it's somebody whose opinion I valued.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we were gonna hop on a call to have this great chat, and he just, like, beat me down so much, and he was my age. And
Mm-hmm.
I realized that it's because I probably just quit my job, and I'm pursuing shifts in my career and what I do, and I'm still
Mm-hmm.
not certain about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what it came down to. But then I did what you did. It's like, no, I know what I'm doing and I
Mm-hmm.
know what I've done. And so then you start writing down, if it gets that difficult ever for anybody, write down the reasons why it is for you or why you are right. As in,
Mm-hmm.
like, right to believe something or right to want something or, right to charge something. And that is going to basically give you proof of that value and completely, reject that comment or that experience.
No, and I think that goes back to what you were saying too, is about then you'll visually see it. And once your
Mhm.
brain visually sees it too, that kind of helps reignite, I think, once you see it written down, because there is such power to seeing something written down, your
Oh,
visualization.
yeah.
So I love that you're kind of bringing that back where you're talking about if you have that doubt or whatever the reason, write down why you believe it's right, because then your brain's going to see it and it's going to be like, that's right. I do believe what I believe.
Yeah, and frankly, I do it all the time with multiple things. You're creating content for social media or
Mm-hmm.
for me as a speaker, I love speaking and I really want to help athletes. I've worked with CEOs and executives, with
Mhm.
entrepreneurs and leaders, but I really want to work with athletes. And so I create all this content around certain things, but then I have an idea, right? And then I want to go another way. And so
Mhm.
I actually, in my like calendar and planner and all the things, I have it written down. Why am I doing this? Or
Mm.
whenever time gets difficult, like moving to New York, it's not the easiest of things sometimes, right? And whenever
Mhm.
I'm being tested, I go back and I read it and I'm like, okay, this is why I'm doing that and that and that and that. Because in the midst of chaos, our mind, yeah, gets lost. And
Mhm.
you need that reminder sometimes. So yeah, no shame in that. It's good.
Mm. No, that's really inspiring. I think there's a few things I need to write down that are kind of especially like entrepreneurship journey. That's the big thing. And like, so you work for yourself, it's a lot to wear all those hats. And, there's the doubts that come in, especially like I've never taken a business class and here I am running a business. And so it's like, I have to remember, why I'm doing this. And it's, most of it is the architectural department in my company. That's what, lights me up and gets me inspired. And that's what I know, like why I'm doing what I'm doing. But of course, there's moments where it's kind of I question myself on certain things. So I love this idea of writing it down. And I think writing it down and putting it somewhere where I can visually see it. So I can always get that reminder because it all seems to interconnect.
Yes. Well, and also, if I may, if it makes you feel
Yes.
better, just
Yes.
remember that, most professors who teach courses for MBAs and all of these, they don't have their own businesses. They're teaching you theory.
Mm,
And
that
so
is
you
true.
are, and no disrespect,
Hmm.
but you've learned it and you have a specific skill that is very niche and not as common and very needed.
Hmm.
And you can learn that at any given moment, right? Any question that you have, you can go and find somebody who's done it, but also with a business. And so, yeah, you've got this.
Thank you. And I'm inspired by you as well. And I kind of want to touch base on some of your social media posts because you have a way of bringing the viewer in and like your videos, like I want to like get into your brain on that because your videos are so inspiring. And I'm like, you make like I do not like to run. You make running look fun too, by the way. In some of your videos, and
Oh,
you're like out in a beautiful park. Like I remember when you were living in London and you're like, it's a beautiful day and you're running. And I'm like, I do not want to run, but Claudia makes running look really fun. So I love
yay.
the creativity that you put into even like your social media.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So, with the running, I will say if you ever need help with that, I love helping people just begin. I do have like free resources all over because I think it's so powerful. Running, once you learn to run and enjoy it more so, it's because you've conquered your mind. So, that's a food for
Mm,
thought for everybody. It helps
yes.
you conquer your mind and it helps you in more ways than one. It doesn't have to be intense ultra marathons, I promise.
Hmm.
But with the social media, thank you so much. Look, I'm just myself. I really am. And I love sharing about what I do and what I'm passionate about. And I think
Hmm.
I'm pretty good at being the same person on and off social media. I get just as passionate, but then I'm equally goofy
Hmm.
on Instagram than I am in real life. So it's something that I love doing and sharing. For me, there is a strategy that goes behind it, right? Obviously, for me, I want to share mindset, but this is something that I struggled with. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but people tell you to focus on a niche. And I was
Hmm.
like, the niche. Everybody needs a mindset. No niche. I was reluctant. Oh my gosh, 3 years, zero
Hmm.
niche. And I got it. I was kind of speaking to the four winds and nobody was listening, at least on socials.
Hmm.
And then I realized, oh, it's because I come from a running background and a sports background. And it doesn't mean that only runners are going to listen to me, but people who can identify with my message through that outlet. Finally got
Hmm.
it. And
Hmm.
so I just love sharing the lifestyle that goes around it, from the running to the healthy habits to the mindset messages. I am very quick to just be inspired by many things. And I just pull out my phone and record. It's fun
Yeah.
because if people are going to be on their phone scrolling, I want it to be something that is going to give them something of value and
Hmm.
positive and maybe inspire them to drop the phone and go do it. Not just the running, but in
Yeah.
life, accomplish their goals. And so, yeah. And by the way, your posts are also amazing. I love
Thank you.
them. They're like binge worthy, and I have a
Really?
very
Oh,
embarrassing confession.
oh,
Sometimes I go to your profile and I'm like, has she posted anything else? And like, I just hope
oh,
that I've missed like 10 of them because I just want to watch them. And
oh.
then I sometimes rewatch some of them because they're like just so cool. So
Oh, thank you. Thank
I
you.
love them too.
Well, likewise then. I always look for your content too. There's something, it's just, and that's the right message when it comes to social media. Like, that's the approach I have as well. As long as I'm having fun, and I think when you're having fun, that then shows, other people your true self, and people resonate with that more than if it's like the moment I get stressed about social media, I take a step back and I'm like, okay, if this is supposed to be fun, like this isn't my full-time job, this is supposed to be a creative outlet for me. So the moment it gets stressful, I'm like, okay, let's take a step back. But having it be fun allows me at least, and it sounds like to you as well, to then have fun creating posts and just kind of letting whatever comes up, kind of sharing that in the moment as well. So, but thank you so much for liking my reels
Of
and
course.
everything. Oh, I love how we're fangirling each other. This is so fun.
I know.
I know. This has been so fun having you on. And so, one thing I want to talk about is also your podcast as well, and kind of give a plug for that.
Thank you. Yes, Mindset Mike podcast. It's focused on helping you be the optimal leader of your life. It's a passion project. I love
Yeah.
speaking, and which is kind of weird because I'm actually kind of introverted in real life, but I'm
Really?
very open and myself with people who I feel comfortable with, like yourself.
Mm.
And but I love public speaking, and I figured it would be a great outlet for me to support people who perhaps don't know me, aren't
Mm-hmm.
ready to work with me, they want value and in any capacity. So yeah, we're like on episode 35 almost on Monday, and I'm so
Nice.
happy. It just
Yeah.
feels so good, right?
It
It is
does.
a lot of work,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm so happy because I will say it is one of those things that help me focus more on my message as a mindset speaker. Because, like I
Mm-hmm.
said earlier, I was focusing on like everybody needs mindset. Yes. But it reminded me to stay true to myself. I had spoken with somebody, a consultant from Dubai, and she was like, Claudia, look at you, and you've lived in Dubai. You need to target the wealthy businessmen in Dubai. And I said, on it. And so all of my content at first, if you listen to the first episodes, they're not for corporate, but I
Yep.
use or attempt to use a lot of corporate lingo
Mm.
that I do not dominate because I runner and a former Spanish teacher and I've worked with corporate settings, but I've never been in corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt so happy to share, but there was something missing. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized that all my stories were always about running and sports and lifestyle and travels. And that's honestly one of the things that I'm so thankful for because it helped me find really the way that I want to position mindset
Mm-hmm.
in this platform of podcasts and mindset and socials and everything. But it's really an outlet for me to share with people and support and give back. It goes out every Monday, and I'm very proud of it. I look forward to being like you and having a podcast editor. Right now it is myself, and
Wow.
but it's so good. Honestly, I'm so happy.
No, and like the 35 episodes, once you hit that rhythm, that mark, there is something like I've had friends who have like thought about doing a podcast, and it is a lot of work. Like people don't realize the editing. That's why I have an editor, because that's the one part I'm like I don't know how to learn how to do that. So I delegated that, and my podcast editor is incredible. And so that's allowed me then to focus on having guests and doing the creative stuff. Like I do a lot of all the social I do still all my social media, put all those posts together, and that I have fun with. But podcasting is a lot of work, and it's incredible to see that you are happy to be at this stage, and you're finding your rhythm, and you're going to keep growing and growing. And it's a lot of, I think there was something about, I'm going to quote the statistic wrong, but it's like, I'm not going to say a percentage. Majority of podcasts don't make it past their like 10th episode, because people realize that it's a lot of work to do the editing, to put the guests together, to write the script, whatever it is, then to market it. It's not just this quick 20-minute episode. It takes a lot of work in the background. And so you're doing a great job. And like, I can't wait to see you keep growing.
Thank you. You as well. I can't wait to have you on. We've talked about this and it's going to be so fun. I want to bring guests on now because I know that, value comes from, and I think I've spoken enough. So it's time to kind of alternate, but yeah,
Hmm.
I'm super excited. It does take a lot of work, which for those listening to this podcast, know that. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the kind of passion and support that you're getting from your host.
Thank you. Oh, Claudia, thank you. This has been such a fun, positive call. I'm so glad like we've had the chance to talk and
Yes.
share, and like you're just so positive, and like if you're ever in California, I don't won't be going to New York anytime soon, but if you're ever in California, I hope we can meet up because you just radiate this such fun, positive energy.
Thank you so much. Almost went to California this past weekend, but I canceled.
Oh,
It would have been nice.
it
However,
would have been.
yes, I'll probably have a trip soon or something. We have friends there as well. So I've never been to LA.
Really?
I've been to San Diego only,
Okay.
but I'm excited. I'm excited to visit and spend time. I know it's weird. I'm a bad American, apparently.
America is huge. There's so much. We can talk about that too. But like America is huge, but it's a beautiful country, but it's huge. There's a lot to see, but definitely if you are ever in LA. So, Claudia, thank you so much for taking the time to come on from the Honeycomb. And can you share with the listeners where they can find you, how they can work with you?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. You can check out my website, theclaudiaramirez.com. I am on social media. It's Claudia Ramirez. It's as an ITS. I'm sure you can see it somewhere else.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm also on YouTube where you can
Nice.
see, and Mindset Mike podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Yeah, would
Everywhere.
love to have you.
Nice. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of From the Honeycomb podcast. As we conclude, I want to express my gratitude for joining me in today's episode. I hope you have found it insightful and inspiring. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to rate, review, and click that like button so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to share this with your friends. You can follow me on Instagram at From the Honeycomb Podcast, and you can also further your support of From the Honeycomb by visiting the Patreon link provided in the show notes. Your contribution helps make more episodes possible. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe to my monthly newsletter, A Spark of Positive Energy, that comes out on the 7th of each month. Thank you so much, and see you next Friday.